everyone, I'm Allie with Potomac Beads. Join me in creating this nice Primrose necklace. It uses an array of different beading skills that you may have and forget to use. Hopefully you can join me in creating this beauty even out of the beads from your stash. If you need to shop, go ahead and check out the links below to shop with us online. Gather up your materials and your tools and let's get started. To begin the Primrose design, you're going to need a couple tools. I want you to have a needle nose plier, which are going to be flat on the interior, a round nose plier to make nice round eye pins, as well as a nice flush cutter. I'm using the Sparkle tool set from Beading for all of these pliers that I'm working with. You also are going to need some silk cord. The silk cord size that I'm working with is size 6, and I'm working with the Griffin silk. The positive of that is it already has a needle that is attached at the end of the cord. You are going to want to remove the cord all the way off the piece and stretch it as you do it, so that way when we get into our knotting section, you do not have a ton of stretch happening as you're knotting. We're going to begin with our pliers though. So I'm going to take my pearls of my supply, move them off to the side. And I have here my faceted Jade Rondelles in the 4x7. I have some 2mm round Potomac crystals, as well as the PC Helix in the Opal color in a 4mm. There's a ton of different variety that you can use in this piece, but I am using these smaller beads along with one of the triangles here. A lot of different options when it comes to the open frames. I'm using the Perfect Form triangles in brass in that 13mm. You're going to need 2 of those and a handful of your head pins. When it comes to head pins, the size honestly does not really matter. We're making small little coiled eye pins, so I am using smaller head pins generally, so I'm not having as much waste when I cut them off. When I do the head pins and make the coiled eye pins, I'm going to be attaching them to the triangle as I am coiling them around the piece and adding them in. Grab out your head pins, some of your beads, and you're going to want all 3 of your pliers ready and handy. I have all of my beads sitting on my head pin laid out in the exact same order that I did the other one. Now obviously, if you don't have the other one created yet, you get to pick your order, and then you just want to make sure that you have that same pattern on both sides. We're going to be attaching all of these eye pins to our triangle. Our strand then, when we get to it, we'll have our 2 pearl strands coming down, and we'll have the rest of our faceted jade and crystal going up to the top. So that's how it's going to stay with a point to the top, is just because of weight. From here, I'm going to take my first head pin, which I have 2 of my jade, 1 small crystal, 1 helix, jade, crystal, jade, helix, crystal, and so forth, looking at the design. I'm going to hold my beads and just leave a tiny bit of space, even less than 1/8 of an inch there, right above my head pin and my beads. Holding my beads, I want you to bend your wire back so that it's a 90-degree bend. Bring your wire then over the top of your round nose plier. If you need more instruction and more help when it comes to making these coiled eye pins, make sure to check out the multitude of wire videos that we have on creating coiled eye pins. Once I have the wire over that top jaw of my pliers, I'm going to open up my hands and spin the pliers in my hand so that wire now is on the bottom jaw. Take that wire back 90 degrees and you have your eye pin. Now I'm going to put this eye pin onto my triangle, going in and putting the triangle on that last little section there. Holding with my round nose pliers, I'll bend and coil the extra wire around itself with a head pin. If you need to, you can use your pliers, or if you have longer head pins, go ahead, coil them, and then we're going to cut them down. I'm going to continue to add in these coiled head pins along my triangle, one at a time, making sure that I'm attaching. They'll float around the triangle, so don't worry too much about that. Holding again, about 1/8 of an inch above that bead. Hold the bead, bend the pliers back 90 degrees, Bring that wire over the top of your round nose pliers till it hits the bead. Switch from the top jaw to the bottom jaw of your pliers, and then take that wire to the back. I want to try to make my eye pins here consistent in size. So if you need to, you can take a Sharpie marker and draw lines on your round nose pliers. If you go to add it to your triangle and you can't quite get it into that little eye, just pull a little bit and that'll force that loop open just the tiniest little bit. If you coil once again and you have extra wire, like I'm going to have here because it's just one single bead, grab your wire cutter, place it over the top with that flat side facing towards your project. Cover your hand over your bead mat or working surface so that way that little piece does not fly up and hit you. And if you have just a little tail that's left up, go ahead and pinch it down with your needle nose pliers. That is 2 on, and I have an additional 9 to go. So I'm going to continue adding these onto my triangles. These also make really cute earrings as well. Once you're done creating your triangles and you have all of those little eye pins on there, equaling on each side, we're going to start our knotted section of our pearls with these 6 to 7 millimeter pearls. I've taken the size 6 in that nice beige color off the strand, and I'm going to, instead of using a wire guard or a knot cover, I want this to be kind of natural looking. So I'm going to go in between my first 3 eye pins there, and I'm going to knot the silk onto my triangle form. Just a regular overhand knot here. You can leave yourself a little bit more room than I'm trying to do right here. And just knot along the piece. Now see how this wants to go at the top? Remember I was between those 3 there? Don't worry, you're going to flip the rest of them back over. So don't worry, your eye pins will move around the project. I have 1 knot on there. I'm going to do another knot, and I'll do a tiny little dab of glue as I go in then and start my knots along the piece. The reason that I chose to not bother with the wire guard or to not bother with the knot cover is because all those little eye pins are going to cover up that knot anyway. Coming off of the piece here then, I'm stretching it as I'm going. I'm going to cut my pearls off, and you can change up the design, but I'm just going to go straight with pearl, knot, pearl, knot, pearl, knot. If you've never done any knotting before, you may want to have a little beading awl. I recommend the Tulip brand beading awl. You're going to slide your first pearl onto your silk. You're going to slide it the whole way down. And I'm stretching as I slide to make that easier as far as the lack of overstretching when it happens. The pearl goes right up next to the form. Doing a simple overhand knot, bringing the rest of my cord the whole way through. And this will get easier as you get more and more pearls on the strand because you have less and less thread to pull through. It takes a little bit of talent, but you're going to hold that knot in place as you pull that loop closed. If you've never done knotting before, practice a little bit and then go ahead and put it on the product. You can go in and put that loop that you just made into the beading awl, pull the thread, pushing the awl against the pearl, little by little, moving it up the beading awl, and then pushing the knot in place. Give a nice tight pull and add your next pearl. Going back down here, I pull the whole thing in my hand so that way I make sure that I'm not doing any knots. Put that pearl on. And you don't have to have this really, really perfectly knotted. That's fine in the design. I'm going to try to do my knots pretty close. Go overhand there. Make that loop, pull your thread the whole way through of that silk cording. When you get to the end, just a little heads up. Sometimes it likes to knot there, so make sure to pull your needle portion through as well. Pull that down to the pearl. Slide in your beading awl. Push that knot right down there and keep pushing the knot as you remove the awl, pushing it up right next to the pearl. There's 2 on. I'm going to string about 6 inches of pearls and then get ready to add to my alternate side. I'll do then another 6 inches of pearls and do the exact same thing. Once you're done knotting your section of pearls, I want you to add your last pearl here, and I ended up with 22 pearls for about 6 inches. I'm not going to create a knot after the pearl. I'm going to pick the same place over here on the design, making sure that I'm entering my beads between the same beads. So there's my 3 blue there in a row, going in here to my 3 blue in a row. And I'm going to create my knot in the exact same place. So I push those all up to the side, and I'm making sure that I'm connecting to the same place on both sides. Now, there are so many eye pins here that you're probably not really going to see if it's the exact same from side to side, but I like that consistency. I'm taking my silk thread through that loop, going to knot the silk thread, onto that triangle, just like we've been doing with the knotting, nice and close, pulling that down to the pearl, and then tying one more knot. Again, I'm going to go in then with a little super new glue, E6000 glue. Because it's a silk thread, honestly, it doesn't really matter. I like the super new glue because it's fast drying. And I'm going to go ahead and glue the end of that silk. Once I'm done gluing the ends of both silk, I'm going to pick another spot 5 beads away, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and start to do a second strand of pearls. Doing 22 pearls on the first strand, I want the second strand to be a tiny bit longer, so I'm going to end up with an additional 4 pearls to make it 1 inch longer than the one that sits above it. If you want more of a difference in length, 1 inch will have them sit kind of right off of one another. If you want to do more, you can do an additional 6 pearls or up to 10 inches of pearls to have it hang approximately 2.5 to 3 inches between one set of pearls. So again, just grabbing some glue, gluing onto that, doing the exact same thing one more time till you have your 2 pearl strands knotted to the front. Once you're done creating your center portion and you make sure that you have the same amount of crystals on either side of your pearls, you're going to start the back of the necklace. The back of the necklace, I'm concentrating and making mainly the darker colors so the focus stays toward the front. And all I've done is tied right near that top of the triangle my silk thread, added 1 of my pearls, 1 of my crystals, and then 3 of my rondelles. And I'm continuing that pattern along the design, just stringing with that same thread that I have left. I have plenty left of that size 6 silk cording. That's a tongue twister. I'm going to do this long enough that I can slip it over my neck because I want it to hang down fairly low along the chest. If you want to put a clasp on, you can use a knot cover or you can tie simply on to the back of a piece depending on how long you want it to go. I'm going to continue on with this pattern of the 3-1, 3-1, 3-1 crystal versus gemstone to finish up with a pearl and knot it on the other side of my triangle to get this nice primrose kind of elegant look. Once you have the sides of your design and the top finalized, like I said, I like to use that super new glue. Just do the tiniest little dab on that knotted section. And once I have just the tiniest little bit come out, I like to go and kind of blow that around. So my head kind of got in the way, but I like to blow that around the silk so that way it kind of gets in to the little crevices and also does not stick too much to the form itself. I'm just getting it on the knot. Surprisingly, your thread burner or thread zap, it's a little bit thick for that. I find my best action after gluing is taking my nice snips here, my nice wire cutters, letting that glue dry a little bit, and then cutting as close as I can so all you see is those knots in the design to keep kind of that nice natural look. That's why I did not choose to use the wire guards or the wire covers. As that dries then, you want to get as close as you can to the design, cut off that extra wire, nice and flush next to the project. And then your necklace and design is completely finished. As always, thanks so much for joining me in creating this primrose design. Hopefully this inspires you to go back to some of the skills that you may already have, look at your stash and come up with some gorgeous designs. I can't wait to see everybody's interpretations and inspiration pieces from this design in our Facebook group for beading and jewelry making. As always, if you have any suggestions, questions, or ideas, please make sure that you comment below to help out the beading community that watches the videos and enjoys this craft so greatly. As always, if you need any materials, check out the links below to shop with us online at PotomacBeads.com as well as PotomacBeads.eu. Remember always, you can give a little thumbs up and click to subscribe so you don't miss anything from us here at Potomac Beads. As always, thanks so much and enjoy your new Primrose necklace.